This is Luke 26, but since I've now cleaned up all the words, I'm putting them together for the first time and going to take a look at them and edit those, needs the editing. And I don't know if there's going to be two parts to this, so I'm labeling it as one right now. And then if I do make it all the way through, I will make a new thumbnail for it. But here is the text. Oops. It starts out that I've corrected. Like I said, I changed the compiled to a common word that a 12-year-old will be able to read it. Now, keep that in mind when I'm editing a lot of these words like this. And these aren't things, these are prophecies accomplished by Jesus. I think there could be a better word here, but I use prophecies for right now. Now, this is a priest at the time of David. Saul had his whole family killed except for one son escaped, and he went and found David, and David said, "Be among us," and David was traveling with this guy. I can't really. I would rather put it that the high priest are sons from Levi. Okay, so I'm just changing that, and it's easier for everybody to understand instead of having to learn this this male's name. And also was a descendant from Aaron. But Aaron is important because he is the first high priest. Now it comes down to Elizabeth was barren. Well, actually, she had not conceived, is a better way to put it. So a 12-year-old understands what it has not conceived. Now, when it comes down to me changing the word 49 to the written words, this is the way a Hebrew writer would have wrote it, okay, or a true Israeli. Now, I want to show you the book over here, this here, and show you that this number 12, this is the word, and if I click on either or, it's going to give me other words around it. But notice over here, it's used 12 as 74 times, or yeah, it's used 12. The word 49 is used. How come I'm using the word 12? I guess I should have found 49. But what I want to show you is here, where it says 2 and 10. Well, I think it is more correctly to say 10 and 2 to mean the number difference. Because if they said 2 and 10, it could mean 2 and then 2 items and 10 items, meaning they're separate items. But if you put 10 and 2, now you're saying that the number should be combined to understand that it would be the number 12. But here, I'm doing that with the number 49 as 40 and 9. I added the word 7 because there are 7 lamps on the candle, or on the lampstand. And he was standing by the table. I don't appear. I could get rid of those words. Appeared by the table. I should get rid of that. And then like these here words that you're seeing editing, I don't think I need to really go through and repeat them, but they were smoothing out the beginning. So when I was reading them, and I tried to read them fast to where that these beginnings had made me stumble the way I had them. So I don't want to go through all these here. I just want to go through the things that have really changed, like liquor to beer here. Now this is because I don't think they had liquor at that time. I don't think that was that popular, but a simple beer could be made. So I believe beer was at that time. And the words breath to words. There is a video down below if you're just tuning in cover everything on what is Holy Spirit, and I go through every word of the Spirit in the four so-called Gospels, and you'll see that I do a thorough investigation and show you Hebrews, or not, I show you the Hebrew word for spirit and the word for spirit in what people call the New Testament, and I show you how Jesus tells us that what is Holy Spirit is actually our Creator's words coming out a person's mouth and prophesying, or His words come to one's thoughts, and then He is helping you understand what He wants you to do. Here, when I was doing this, I had to add these words to make it sure that we're talking about John. And what I did here is I added the word for to forefathers, but many back to YV, so I got rid of the word this time around. Here, because the text showed that a descendant from David and then a descendant from wherever, but this will be lost forever. But I just wanted to note that when it's here, this is where it should have been located or known, but it's lost forever. Here, this is really not is not really needed, because I already have them living together in a house. And I've explained it when I went through Matthew. I think it was a good description of what goes on. But in the video below, I do explain the virgin birth and do it in great detail, as I do all things in great detail, to bring your belief to a trust. She prophesied. See, when the holy words, this would have been Holy Spirit's, and she prophesied, and these are our Creator's words coming out of her mouth. I don't need those words there. Don't need those words to say we are the most blessed females. And I'm changing the text to say that for the simple fact that I added the word both here. Because over here it had the word we are blessed by YV and my Savior, which is true, for He has favored us, His servants. So I had to keep it with that, knowing that she was talking about both of them at the whole time. So this had to be edited to be correct. And stayed about a week. Okay, they're young. Joseph and Mary are only probably about 14 years old, and so I also think that someone from her family went with them, had to, because it was rough times when the Romans ruled, and they would have had to travel something like 40 or 50 miles on their own. Now, what was I just thinking I wanted to say here? I guess that's gone forever. Anyways, it's a week, because this month doesn't really mean much, is important. So I just need to have some time that they shared together. Oh, that's what I was thinking, that maybe lost forever. That I might, this up here where I had it blank, if Elizabeth is from Aaron, and if she would know Elizabeth, she might be a descendant from Aaron as well. Okay, so we have a guess of what could be here. So, but I'm not sure, so I'm leaving it blank. Holy words. He has raised our son, not for our salvation, for our son from David as his servant. He was raised. He has risen our son for our son from David, his servant. Okay. Jesus is allowing us to have salvation through him, and don't need these. We know that when it's mentioned his prophets, they didn't have prophets at that time, so these words don't need to be here. Our Creator would not have. He had. Well, anyways. For our son will be called a prophet for YV. And it's about forgiveness of their sin. This is what John is going to do. He's forgiving. Oh no, this is about Jesus, how he's going to forgive their sins to allow them to enter into heaven. And notice how the story changes. Because here pretty soon the text is going to, I'm going to start showing you how, where I shifted text, I could shift text in the next video, or the next step of combining the 4 books together. Don't need the word suddenly. And there appeared many angels, because the word angels, don't know how many, few or whatever, so I'm going to put many. Suddenly there appeared many angels, and they said together, Holy brought the words, had to do that here as well. Here I had to do a little bit more editing because I had left his light here is revealed to everyone or for everyone. But when I got to the next of it, or the rest of it, he is the most righteous from his nation, our Creator's nation. I figured the word righteous should go back up here instead of using the word light. His righteousness will be revealed to everyone. He is the most righteous from our nation. Here, when Jesus was 24, so I wrote it out as 24. Don't need these words. Words came from YV. Words from YV came to John, and he went to the Jordan River. Okay. So because they're mentioning 2 high priests, this means that this one was when Jesus, he's the one that had Jesus crucified. So this is why this is being mentioned. This one is to show that John had been on the river declaring the year of our Lord, and he's here, he's walking among us. So the thing here is this gives us more an understanding that John just wasn't out there for maybe 1 or 2 years. He might have been out there for more. I know that's implied in the text, but this is the text that would reveal this as a truthful answer. How we can speculate or logically reason what was going on. And he just didn't went around the Jordan River. Because that didn't read right, because you wouldn't go along the Jordan River unless you knew that there was bridges on there where he was going to talk to people as they crossed over. So that's what he was doing. He went to their bridges on the Jordan River, and he was heralding, not preaching, he was heralding their king. Okay, and why do I have this with little yellow marks in it? Is because down here, this is what the prophecy said, make ready your way for your king. So he wasn't preaching, he was heralding, and he was heralding our king. This part here, it doesn't need to be said. It's just text that makes no real sense. I really had to think about, when I'm removing words, it's because there is no reason or sense to make of the words. We have plenty of words, but I'm sure people will try to think of something to say for these, but these these don't have the meaning of Jesus within them. So it's kind of like this is not really needed in the text. Okay. I'm just saying that it took a long time to figure or to remove it. It just doesn't. When you read it, you can almost see like it's being added because all of a sudden this is stuck out here. So when you read it from here to here, you'll understand why I had to reject that. Okay, and this here, not bearing goodness, but it is who is not good will be cut down. And John is referring to good, those that um, because not everybody's going to be righteous that goes into heaven, but those that are good hopefully make it into heaven. They, as most Christians today, don't even care if whatever's going on. They don't read nothing. They just go to their gathering, yeah, and walk home and don't really pay attention to it. But if they were to understand that when they're in the meeting, that right here in Matthew 5:20, this is Jesus speaking, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes, you will not enter my kingdom. You're supposed to be able to correct the scribes. Okay? So I'm just saying that there is reason why there should be people questioning what's going on. Then Mary gave birth. Okay, I'm thinking I'm not skipping over anything that, yeah, I did those. Okay. These are pretty common here. The not in the field were herders, but the herders because it was their field. Okay. And they were keeping watch. So the word "were" went from here to here. It doesn't need the word "suddenly." It's just added extra words. Okay, maybe I have discussed all this stuff. Yes, I think I did. So let me get down here. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Okay. Okay, here's what I was getting to. This, I'm making a note for myself, and you're going to see blue text now starting to appear. And this means that between this story and this story, we know there's a lot of things missing because we know that if the text starts out that when he baptized Jesus, we know that it was John, even though it flows like this, it does, but we know that John sent his disciples to ask if Jesus is he coming to be baptized. So we know text is going to go in here. So I left that as a space. And then I needed to add these words here because this, when you read this, it's not really correct. It's like the rounding up of a lot of times in Luke, you'll see words that are stuck in here that tell the story, and then later it just like yeah. See, he will baptize you, and then all of a sudden they sum it up and quickly and say he had other more advices he heralded to our people. So this is just. Sorry about that. I think there's a crazy dog running around the apartment here. He's zipped by 3 times or 2 times. But after he baptized Jesus, it was then he decided to put John in prison. He had John put in prison. Locked, we understand that by the word prison. So this didn't make any sense. So if I put the word here, he had John locked in prison. That didn't sound right either. But when I had, so he had John put in prison, that was understandable. Me, I had to have Jesus here after he baptized, because of the text is going to start separating here. Right now, these, when I've got one space, this is like a group of words, okay? Because it's almost like, now that you know that he was put in prison, then Jesus was led into the desert. No, he was led into the desert when he baptized them right after this. So these, yes, after this here, you can see here that this is the story that should be complete. But here, this text, I guess I should say that this text is going to go somewhere else, and that it's going to be completed here. So let me do this, because this is what I've been doing here, just for myself. Well, I guess I should say move. Now, I removed the word pinnacle because it's just a roof. Like I said, for 12-year-olds to understand, we don't need to have a pinnacle of a temple. But it would have been the roof. That's enough to understand that they were standing up on top. Now, when it comes, Jesus was in Israel. Here's what I want to bring up here. Whoops. I need it over here. We know that John was along here when Jesus was baptized. Okay, there will be text that it looks like it wasn't in Luke, but I'm sure it's the only book left. It's going to be in John, somewhere in here. So this is the desert area where I'm thinking Jesus went. Now when he's traveling, he's got to go around here, because we know he's going to go into Lake Galilee. Now, could there be a bridge here? Yes. So he went from here to here. So, but the reason why I'm saying as a Kara is that I'm trying to change when the words to be more exact, so we know where Jesus is located. So if we know that Jesus was in Israel, that would have been too far. That's too much. But if he's in the Ezekara's area, or Ezechara area, then we would know that where he is at, and he is with the power of his breath. And we know that this breath is this anoint with the power by his, and I guess the word appointment would be better here, anointment. That needs two N's. Nope. No, 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 no. Sorry about that. I pushed the wrong button and it just takes off and sticks me other places here. Just a second. Wow. Just like this, where it says region, through every tribe, throughout every tribe. So here, I'm trying to say, when I'm doing this, it's all these up in here. It went to all these tribes areas. Okay, just so we understand or have a better feeling of what it means to every region. It wasn't a region, by the way, because that would have been that's. And when I'm saying that, these are the three regions at this time. But I'm saying when he was in Israel, that's too much, because we know he was through here and then was in the desert, and now he's going up into this area. So that's why I'm now going to go through and start correcting the text here as the word tribes. It just that when I read this 2 or 3 times, it just seemed that it was time to change that word to be a more precise, especially when I started dividing it. And just like this text needs to be moved up because here Jesus went to Nazareth where he lived and entered the synagogue. Well, he's got no disciples here. In the text, when you see it highlighted here, this group of words needs to be all grouped together when it goes up someplace else in the text. Remember, I had marked up there that there's text about Jesus has to be out there because John has got to send him. Well, this text will go up here. Now, what I don't know how many people have really understand the text as well as I do. So this is why I'm going to explain here why I'm moving those up. It's because when Jesus is in Jerusalem for the Passover, and he has to be 25 years old, this means that this is the year of the Lord, that he starts here. And those that know the text really well, Jesus heals a man that is sitting by a pool of water, or a male by a pool of water. And then there's other stories about like a well, and this is where I have the location of Abraham living in here, because he has to be close enough to a river's end, because they talk about what was it? There was a fight of the cattle between Abraham and Lot took the valley of the river. So it has to be through here. But the object is what I have Jesus doing is traveling up to here, and then he's going up to Nazareth before he starts swinging around to Galilee to pick up, he's going to come down through here, and then he's going to get over here to be baptized. Then he's going to go up here and go up around a little bit and then come back down. So now that you understand that, this is why this is, when it doesn't have any disciples, the text will be moved, okay? And I'm going to, because this book is going to be the master book to put the others together, because the way that the text started off was very unique. And the stories are really good as being very lengthy here. They are perfectly in order, but well, this is a warning not to be moving it right now, because I got excited and I started really moving text around. And then I had to back off. That was going to take hours and hours, and I'm not prepared to do that. But I will try to go live at some time and really show how long it does take for me to go through a lot of this. And you're seeing prep work done or not being done here. Now, when it says to Capernaum, at the top of Lake Galilee, a city, it said, I had the word by, but I want to start making sure that people, when they're reading it for the first time, need to understand where these locations are at. I hope to in fact, I know I will put maps in, and I'll show you a lot of the maps as I'm going here, or you've seen the maps that I've used. Without this, anywhere without the disciples, or this is the note to myself, without this, anywhere without disciples. That would be this verse, meaning anything down here in the text. It is that if you don't have this sentence here, this really is not true, because the way he's going to travel from Ezekiah, he is going to go up to Capernaum, but it's going to take a while before he gets up there, and he's going to have disciples by then. So It just seems like this verse here has been added, okay? But that's the detail of what's going to start happening here when I go through it. Because here, they reported this to the surrounding tribes. Now, this is what I was saying, that there's text that tells us the order of things. Well, if this news was so stunning, this has to be the first demon that Jesus uh, commanded in front of people. Okay, just for you to understand why I'm saying that first verse would be gone is because when you read this, it is like it's his first demon. Now this text needs to be moved down because we have disciples and it's going into Simon's house. So this text would get moved down, and then I'm just adding these two verses together to make it just one, so the text is for the sentence to be complete. Now, here again, this text has to be moved up for the simple fact that as of for now in this text, it's got Jesus going to all our synagogues, but it's in Judah. Well, he's got to do a lot before he does anything. So I've got as a chara, whatever, as a question mark whether this word is right. And the crowds were pressing around to listen to his words. So this would be something that all of a sudden they were well aware who he was. He was really teaching because I have crowds were pressing around him. Because the verses are saying to me that he's been traveling a while, okay? Because they were listening to his words. They were excited about him because of John going around and all the things that have been happening to them, that here he is. Well, they wanted to listen to him. But if you understand when you see the text, you got to kind of think of, well, why did he go to Lake Galilee? Well, it seemed like those were the most designated, most dedicated to obeying our Creator was from that area. Okay, and that's why he could go in and get 12 disciples, because they were truly still living, waiting for their king to come to them. Okay, so that's why here, if he's in Azakara and he's going to Galilee, that the crowds were pressing around him just to listen to him. Not just one crowd, but all the crowds that when he went there. So, like I said, some of these verses end up just being a summation of text and not really anything more. But it would be like what they're doing is introducing you or to a situation, whether it's even at the beginning before they tell a story or at the end when they tell a story. Now here, this text has to be moved up before he's in Capernaum, because here he walked along the shore, and this text is saying he's here, okay? When actually we know the story is that it's going this way, but here, this text is saying here, and the other text had him here, so he'd be walking backwards. He's not walking backwards. You don't know that. I know that because I've put these books already together, and that's what it says, and that's what it shows. And I changed the word night to morning. I just felt this was better to understand the situation. That you mend your nets before you go fishing in the morning. You don't mend them when you get home. You're tired. So, yeah, the fishermen were mending their nets. And then it's John and James. When I kept reading this as a group, and I read it a couple times, these were the ones that they called over to help them fill their boat because the catch was large. So they were the friends of Simon, not John, but Simon. So now we have James maybe being the older, and this is his younger brother, okay? And John has just been starting to go out and catch fish with his brother. Kind of detailed that people don't realize what these words are saying. So I'm trying to put a little of that in here as I go along. Now, I do need the time, so I got to keep track of it. Okay. And that's what I mean. Yeah, it's almost, this looks like it's going to be about a 4-part series because I'm only about a fourth of the way through the text here. Now I'm going to move this text up because he was in a city or a village with a male who had leprosy before him, but there's no disciples in this story. So I will be moving it up there with that text, with no disciples, and then later have to juggle them around to see what fits right in by the text. And it's their thank offering that they're going, thanks offering, give your thanks offering. This was because if it's an offering, it needs to have a name for it. Now, they also had a peace offering and a thanks offering, but a lot of the other things that are not mentioned are just not true. Boy, might really getting thirsty after that last. Okay. Now this needs to be moved below because there is no disciple below. Well, below a certain verse. I don't know that verse yet. I got carried away and then I said, man, I'm doing too much work here. So, and these judges and scribes came to the city to watch, or not to watch, but to see Jesus heal our sick. Because when the story starts going, I don't want Jesus healing our sick, or it says, watch Jesus healing our sick, because what he was doing was he was teaching, and they were there to see if Jesus healing our sick. But what happens is they're approached for men that Jesus was going to heal. They were hoping that he was going to heal them. So, and I've removed the part about the roof and the tile for the simple fact they didn't bring rope with them. They didn't know where it was at to say that they needed to carry rope and ladders to be able to go up there, and that just doesn't make sense that those things would exist. Okay, so I'm removing that, and I'm pretty sure that that's all got to be all added words they put in. So then it would just be in the crowd parted, that then the crowd parted, that they place him and his stretcher right in front of Jesus. So now this was starting to confuse me. So yes, I'm just noting that after I clean it up, after I make I think I had like 11 or 12 distinctive moves that I knew were going to be there, but some of these I still needed that cleaned up before I could clean up some of these other ones here. And we already know he is a taxman, so it's not needed because it's a double. This one had to be moved. I don't have no corrections here. Here is the text that I know that when I went over them, we have 2 Simons. We got to get rid of one of them. This was one text had Simon was called Peter, but we know that Peter was somebody else in another story. Peter and Andrew, his brother, James and John. So somewhere in here, there's things that are wrong because we also have 2 James here. So there needs to be some work done there. Now, this text does sound like he's in Judah already. Okay, so that's going to be moving. And then we got text going back up to Copernicum. And this will be the last little adjustments here. I'll go to the end. Yep. Just the last bit right here. It will not fall because I have the word collapse here. So since that way I don't need these words here. Who has heard me? Well, who disobeys me did not act, because when you understand the Proverbs, Jesus is making for easier for people to under situations as to how his kingdom is going to be. So that's how I'm going to why I'm saying it's disobeys me, because this is really kind of like after. And this text was, I was reading as if he was leaving Copernicum instead of going to Copernicum. Okay, so that's just a note to myself. And this was, yes, this is why it reads out of place, because if he's going to Copernicum, this doesn't make sense, because I know the other stories, I added them, and actually it's, that's why I have this return road here where he went this way and then returned this way. This is where Jesus is going to actually have this guy show up, okay? And he wasn't sent by some elders. Elders don't walk, run very fast, so it would have to have been the Israeli servant, his friends. Now, you've seen me go through a lot here today. I know that I'm just roughly hitting what I'm editing and changing and trying to show you that what's going to happen in the future. So there won't be, well, I guess I better just explain that in the next text. I'm going to try to now just stay to the words that I'm correcting or need to have correct.